masters, masters, masters of change.
Hello there. Welcome to Masters of Change. My name is Kim Cunio and I'm the Head of Music at the Australian National University. And I'm here with my good friend Charlie Hogg, and Charlie is the Director of the Brahma Kumaris in Australia, and we are having a series of conversations for you. Hi Charlie.
Hello Kim, nice to see you.
Well, it's lovely to be together again. We've been doing this for a while now, and anyone who's tuned in would know that we talk about the little things of life, but we try and then tie them into the big things of life. And we go in little, I guess you could say it's a series of themes, and we're embarking on a series of themes about the notion of communication, how we can communicate better. And this is something in the, I guess you'd say in the regular world or the corporate world, a lot of attention is paid to, but maybe it's not done in a spiritual manner. What would you say to that, Charlie?
I would actually, Kim. I think that, in the world we think a lot about the words we say, and we pay a lot of attention to the languaging and things, but I think spiritually when we communicate, it's on other levels. And when you communicate with anybody, you communicate on three levels. One is your speech, one is your face, which in the contemporary world they call your body language, and the third is the vibes, the feelings. And research says that 90% or 80 to 90% of the impact is actually the non-verbal. So the spiritual world, when it comes to communication, is more interested in the quality of your thoughts, because people feel them, and people read you through your face. People can see your mood and everything through your face. Your words actually only account for 10 to 20% of the impact. So if we really want to communicate better, we have to think more about our thinking, our state of mind, our consciousness.
This is a very profound thought, Charlie, because it's saying that unless we address the inner world, no matter how slick or well prepared we are, people will actually say there's something not quite right about that person. Have you had that experience where you've seen that?
So many times, Kim. And on the other side of it, a lot of people say, I'm always sweet, but I don't really come close to people. What they're really meaning is they'd say nice things, they compliment people, but people don't really love them or really engage closely because they hold critical thoughts or negative thoughts. And it's like that energy reaches. And sometimes I have the thought that, just imagine if our thoughts had colours, that you and I are sitting here, and each time you think, out of your forehead, Kim, comes all these beautiful colours into the atmosphere. Each time I thought, how attentive would you be to your thoughts if people could see? Actually, they can't see, but they feel every single thought. They're feeling your thinking. And so that's why some people wonder why I don't really come close, because I might have a smile on my face, but behind that I'm thinking, you said this to me last week, and you did this to me before, and that subtle energy you're thinking and you're feeling comes through your vibes and even the expression on your face. So you're not really successful in communication and relationship.
And the converse that you've said so clearly is that when someone has this in play, that they may not even need to say so much to really move people. And when you were speaking, I was remembering the first time I had a small audience with Daddy Gulzar, one of the chief teachers of the Brahma Kumaris, who is such a profound soul. And it was through ice cream. So I just sat there eating ice cream in silence with her, and I don't think I'd ever been more loved in my life.
Yeah. Well, how sometimes I think we've all had the experience of a grandparent or something, they're just, their presence oozes a lovely vibration. Everyone wants to be close. You're talking about the daddies of the Brahma Kumaris. I've had that experience on so many occasions, that how communication can come through the eyes. I remember Daddy Janki, who was the more recent head of the Brahma Kumaris, sometimes I saw her eyes were like little light bulbs of love. Just love was just, you could almost see the energy of love coming through her mind. It was absolutely extraordinary. And it just makes you realize that you can't hide your thoughts. I think a lot of us feel no one really knows what happens inside, but actually, sometimes I think it's like a big billboard on the street, you know. Actually, everyone can see because they feel it and they watch your expression. And people are they're not consciously tuned in, but they're sort of unconsciously tuned in. And often I think, you know, am I looking through my two eyes and I just hear the words, or when I look through my third eye, you get the real feeling, and people do look through their third eye and get that feeling from others.
You know, this is something quite beautiful to me, because it says that not only can we not hide, not from other souls, but also not from the Supreme Soul, because every thought in itself is sort of an account, isn't it?
Yes,
you know,
is.
And even if we don't act on it, we've created something every time we think, which is a beautiful but scary thought, isn't it? But then at the same time, it also says we have a superpower, each and every one of us. If we are to have the practice of meditation and the practice of being with ourselves, over time we can become more sensitized to the reading of others. Would you agree with that, Charlie?
I think absolutely, Kim. You know, I think, and we were just sort of touching on the third eye, you know, the more I become soul conscious, the more I start to know, believe and experience that I'm this eternal point. I start to look at life through the third eye rather than just the gross physical eyes. The eyes are wonderful things. They open up a universe of beauty, but the third eye is the eye that feels vibrations and feels the energy in a room, an atmosphere. You know how sometimes you can walk into a room and instantly you feel comfortable, you just feel you can be who you are, and other times you might walk into a room and you feel a little bit careful about something's not so comfortable in the energy of the room. I think it's just amazing that our thoughts keep creating environments, and we sort of are a little bit innocent about it, and that's why I think, you know, the more you meditate, your thoughts create such a lovely environment for all your family and friends to step into. Yeah.
So I'd like to ask some very specific questions in a minute, but I'd like to ask you a question about preparing to meet people. And I think I know the answer to this. What would the benefits be of just having a couple of minutes of silence in yoga or meditation before a meeting or something formal?
It's a brilliant plan for any meeting, I think. Even whether it's a family meeting or a business meeting, I think that, you know, it's almost like your mind, your vibrations will welcome people. I know in one country in South America, one of the people who was a regular meditator with the BKs, he was the vice president of the country. And he got the country, the cabinet, you know, the politicians who run the country, he got them to have a few minutes meditation before their cabinet meetings. He said it completely changed the whole feeling. Because, you know, sometimes what I love, Kim, is it's when all of us sit with a positive thought to create a better atmosphere, it's like we all co-create an environment and then we drink out of it. It's like we all benefit. You know, the human spirit really thrives when there's a positive, accepting, respecting, loving atmosphere. And our mind is constantly creating that.
I think that's a very inspiring thought. I mean, in our country, in Australia, when there's significant national events, there was often 1 minute of silence.
That's true.
And quite commonly in most developed countries, it's something to honour the fallen or those who've left the body through, you know, catastrophe or war or something. But yet it always comes to me that when we're doing this, that something beautiful emerges, doesn't it?
It does.
And so now I want to get to something about really the nuts and bolts of what we're talking about, because when you first responded to me, you talked about really verbal and non-verbal communication. And you talked about, of course, you know, the idea that when we speak it's important. So I'd like to ask you more about that. One thing I find that the Brahma Kumaris put a lot of attention on is the notion of sweet speech.
Yeah.
So could you tell me about that, please?
You know, Ken, the Brahma Kumaris have a lovely little saying that's speak sweetly, speak softly, and speak less, which is probably a good recommendation for all of us sometimes. But it's a very interesting thing because the sense organ of speech is really being run by the soul. Now, when the soul's peaceful and in that lovely space, the whole sort of tone of your voice is gentle, it's not threatening. It doesn't have that edge of aggression. You know how, because even what comes out of your mouth is being formed in the soul, in the consciousness. So if you're a little bit unsettled, a little bit fearful, a little bit angry, it emerges in the tone of speech. And that's why we often feel if you're feeling a bit frustrated, be very careful about what you say to people, because the words and the vibration behind the words can really have a negative influence on a relationship. And so speaking sweetly is not just the type of words, it's the tone or the whole feeling that's coming through your speech.
Yes, so what you're saying is that really we need to look before we leap when we speak. And it's almost like we have to imagine what the effect of that speech will be before we speak. Is that right?
Kim, it's so true. Brahma Baba, the founder of the Brahma Kumaris, he used to say that if you get angry, people will remember it for a minimum of 6 months. And so it's like the carelessness in a moment. Everyone's got like a little digital camera in their third eye, and they go click, 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 and it's stored in their memory, on their hard disk in their memory. So each time you come in front, you're sort of, are they going to lose their temper once again? So carelessness in 1 second can affect your life for a long time. It really, almost always, I think anger will never work. Some people even talk about righteous anger, when you get angry at real, genuine injustice. But I don't even think that really helps either, personally.
This is a profound teaching. Now, I want to ask you about something else too, because we've talked a little bit about how we speak. What about how we write? Because so many of us now, we have to send dozens upon dozens of emails.
Yeah.
And I have noticed that the notion of how we speak is becoming more how we write over time. Could you tell me your thoughts about this? How, if we're going to lead a spiritual life, should we write to others?
Kim, it's such an interesting question, because I often think when I'm writing, it's there forever. Once you press the send button, it will always be there. And so in that moment of emotion, you might write something, and then it has an indelible effect. You can't really withdraw it. And that's where I feel before we say something or even write something that may be a little bit possibly hurtful to another, I think we should really think twice. I just feel the law of spirituality says don't give sorrow, don't take sorrow. And I really feel we have to be very careful what we write to people. My experience time and time again is that where possible, just to say uplifting things, to give that respect to everybody. And we all know that's a challenge sometimes for all of us, but that is the most effective form of communication and the most effective form of leadership.
Okay, I want to ask a provocative question. Okay, I'm in a situation, I want to do that, and then someone is either very needy or very angry that I'm coming into contact with. How do I do that without taking on their sorrow?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because we have a habit of taking sorrow from others. We make so much effort not to hurt other people, but as soon as someone maybe speaks to me in a loud voice, we just, what? And to me, really, Kim, it's a great spiritual learning, because in a way, what's taking that pain from that person? It's my ego. It's my false sense of identity which is deceiving me, because really if I'm in my awareness of who I am, I won't take it. Now, we might say, well, that's fine, because that's a very high state of mind. But really, if you are just aware that I should not take sorrow from anyone, I can almost say overnight 50% of it will go. And this habit, because I'm empty, I keep absorbing the negativity from other people. And to me, this is the nature of life today. It's the culture of life that, we keep taking sorrow from people, absorbing, and then we keep blaming them for it. And actually, spiritually, it's me. It's my lack of self-awareness which is taking it on. And I can't tell you, my experience is no matter how much you say that to people, say, yes, that's true, and in 5 minutes they're doing it again. It's like it's so deep to feel hurt, to feel disrespected, not to feel loved. It's one of the main spiritual efforts we have to make.
Yes, Charlie. As you were saying that, I was thinking about this whole quandary of all of us want to be intimate to the people we meet, because it's a beautiful thing to be close to someone.
Yeah.
But on some level, we put so much of our self-esteem on the line when we do this, instead of investing that energy with our fundamental relationship. So I have that question, what is the fundamental relationship that can support us through this?
Well, I think there's two in a way. I need a loving relationship with my permanent self, the soul, and a loving relationship with God.
Yes.
And Kim, sometimes I think there's three sources of love. First is from me, the second from God, and the third from people. And today, not much love do I give myself. A lot of people have faith in God, but I'm not really sure I really feel that intimate love you were talking about. So my one source of love is my family. And if there's a conflict or a loss, it's like my whole world goes up into upheaval. What is spirituality? Spirituality is first having a loving relationship with myself as a soul and a loving relationship with God as a soul. And you create such a platform that even if people aren't so loving to you, you're loved by God and yourself, and you have a strength not to be so. The reason we get so affected is because we're empty when we're looking everywhere for love. So you give me love, but the next day you give me sorrow. So the sorrow is like a slap in the face. I feel like someone's just slapped me in the face. And yet it's my lack of spiritual fullness which is making me so deeply affected by others' behavior and nature.
Charlie, it sounds almost too good to be true. That there is a way that when we're with someone who's maybe, we've used the term hot and cold a lot, when someone's really hot with anger or righteous indignation and they come to us and they want a result right now, that there's a way in which we can cool the situation down. That's really what you're saying. There is a method to cool things down.
Yeah. And Kim, I think your thoughts or our thoughts can be like a cool rain. If I remain in self-respect, in peace, the energy of my mind can I've seen it, I've seen people who just remain poised, that their energy cools people down.
That's really beautiful. So I have another question for you. I think we've covered, quite nicely this notion of verbal and written communication. And they're the ones that we could do in a course. You could go to a regular workplace course and that would be taken care of. Now we get to the subtle ones. I want to ask you about feelings. How do feelings affect our communication?
To me, really, that is what communication is. And at the heart of relationship is communication, and at the heart of communication, I think, is feelings. And I sometimes just have this image that the soul is like a little spark of energy. It's always emitting energy. And that energy is your feeling. So according to the quality of your thoughts, they create your feelings, and your feelings create your thoughts. They're bouncing off each other. So when you see somebody and you love them, and your mind starts to create these really loving, warm, respectful thoughts, it's like that starts to radiate through your being. And so the power of your mind can transform someone else's mind. I honestly believe that. They may come into a meeting a little bit nervous, a little bit fearful, even a little bit upset. But as your soothing, loving, supportive, respectful feelings are like an energy field that meets them and colours them, they can be cooled down. And that's really, I've seen with a lot of the elder sisters of the Brahma Kumaris, the Dadis, I've seen their attitude. Sometimes I have this thing, Kim, that's like awareness, attitude, atmosphere. You have high awareness, who am I, and this loving relationship with God. It's like your attitude propels that vibe and creates a whole environment, atmosphere around you. So feelings are at the heart of good communication.
I think this is very nice, Charlie. I mean, the analogy that comes to me is that, okay, we're all a little bit sensitive, and we know we're all born into these bodies, and it's a big issue. But yet, it's possible, maybe we can call it taking refuge in the knowledge that we are a soul, that we have a practice to connect to the Supreme Soul, to remember who we are, and that over time we can get stronger in this practice, and in a very benevolent way we can influence the situations we come to.
It's absolutely true, Kim. And as you were saying that, I was sort of thinking that, you know, when you meet somebody and you see them as a body, and that registers a whole lot of mental, emotional responses in yourself when you sort of assess and you compare. I think that's when you meet somebody and you actually see the soul, and you see the soul beyond the conditions of the body, it's almost like instantly what emerges through your mind are more elevated, because to see the soul is like a vision of brotherhood and a vision of equality, you know. I think when we see the body, we sort of unconsciously compare, you know, better or worse, that sort of thing. But when I see the soul, there's a real sense of we belong. It's a beautiful feeling.
Charlie, I want to thank you for that and all your responses. And I think, friends, this is the regular time where Charlie takes us on a journey. Charlie, could you please take us on a pure journey of spiritual communication?
Wherever we are sitting, step back from the distractions and become aware of who I am as a soul. Just visualize yourself as the tiny, eternal spark of consciousness sitting in the front of the brain. And I, the soul, am constantly emitting vibrations. And whoever I come in touch with is feeling my vibrations and my energy. The more I create thoughts of self-awareness and loving feelings for God, the Supreme Soul, the quality of my vibration is the highest. So when I meet people, they feel comfortable, they feel easy, they feel relaxed. When I may be not so happy, a little bit critical or judgmental, that energy field means that others will be a little bit careful, a little bit reserved, or feel distant from me. To change the quality of my thought energy, my vibrations, to improve my communication, Let the thread of my intellect touch God. Just see God as a radiant jewel of light, and feel the energy of God, the energy of the Supreme, these pure vibrations filling me. And feel like I'm an instrument to spread these vibrations around me. If ever I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable, if ever I'm a little bit worried about a relationship, let me sit for a few minutes, connect with God, and upgrade the quality of my vibrations. And these will influence everyone I come in touch with. Thank you.
Charlie and friends, we've had a beautiful introverted journey there, thinking about what it is to be a soul who communicates in this world to other souls and also to the Supreme, remembering that we are part of this sacred thread and we have the power to see the beauty in all others at all times. So Charlie, I'd like to say thank you to you for all you've given to us in all these episodes, and to send to each of you who are listening all of our love, because love can even transcend the video camera. So from all of us who are making these, the team in Australia and Shivani and everyone at Awakening, we're sending you the communication of pure love. Goodbye for now.